Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
San Diego leaders are taking new action to address the homelessness crisis. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Today, Mayor Todd Gloria announced a plan for what he says will be the largest shelter in the city. KPBS reporter Melissa May tells us about the plan and has a reaction from a local homeless advocate.
When the city of San Diego passed the unsafe camping ordinance in 2023, a promise of more safe housing opportunities was made. Mayor Todd Gloria says he is following through with this promise.
I'm announcing my administration's plan to create the city of San Diego's largest ever homeless shelter for people experiencing homelessness that will have capacity for up to 1,000 people to get off the streets and connected to care.
The proposed shelter is a 65,000 square foot warehouse at the intersection of Kettner Boulevard and Vine Street. San Diego City Council member Stephen Whitburn describes the amenities planned for the site.
There will be a full kitchen that will be providing prepared meals to the people who are staying here. There will be an outdoor play area for people's pets that they are welcome to bring to this location. There will be supportive services on site for people. There will be case managers here that will help connect people to housing.
Donnie D. with the San Diego Rescue Mission says they are excited about the proposal, especially if it's offering more than just beds.
If they're going to take that piece of it seriously, where they're actually addressing the issues of the heart on an individual basis, then I believe they can actually move people out of the facility into living life again. And if that's their vision and if that's their plan, then 2 thumbs up, 5 stars.
D says they haven't received any details about the shelter plan, but they want to be at the table as those details are worked out. And he says the community needs to be involved too.
When you open up facilities, there's people in those communities that aren't going to want it, so you're going to have to communicate with them.
Community opposition is one of the issues with another shelter plan from the city, the H Barracks project off North Harbor Drive. Gloria says if the Kettner facility is approved by the city council, the H Barracks site would become part of the city's safe parking program, with 200 spaces for people living in their vehicles. There are no details yet on what converting the Kettner site will cost, but Gloria says the funding will come from state grants, the city's general fund, and local philanthropy. Dee hopes the shelter can offer long-term help that meets people where they are.
You start treating people, they'll start acting like people again. And so way to go, city, for taking a risk, doing something on a large scale, and trying to change our homeless problem that we have here in San Diego County.
The shelter proposal is set to be presented to a city council committee on April 18th. Melissa May, KPBS News.
For the past year, immigrant advocates have criticized the Border Patrol's practice of holding migrants in open-air camps near Jacumba and San Ysidro. And today, a federal judge ordered the agency to provide housing to migrant children. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis joins us to talk about the ruling. Welcome, Gustavo.
Hello, Maya.
So let's start with the open-air detention sites. What are they and what is so controversial about them?
Yeah, well, they're essentially temporary holding places where Border Protection brings in migrants, hundreds of migrants, and they just stay there for a couple of days. And we've reported about this extensively here at KPBS. Picture hundreds of men, women, and children huddled up together, sleeping outside out in San Ysidro and Jacumba. No shelter, under the blazing sun in the summertime, freezing temperatures in the wintertime. At one point, no porta potties, and then the conditions is really why this is controversial, right? I've been there several times. At one point, I talked to women who would travel in groups to nearby bushes to use the bathrooms because there were no other facilities. And the fact that these have been going on for so long is just been really, really controversial.
Yeah, well, tell us about the federal judge's order. How are advocates reacting to it?
They're stoked. They're really happy about the ruling because from the very beginning, the Border Patrol's position on this has been that the migrants in these camps are technically not in their custody, which means Border Patrol isn't required to give them a certain level of standard of care. Advocates have countered by saying, like, look, these migrants are clearly detained, right? They're not free to go wherever they want. They have no control over going in and out of the camps. They don't know when they're going to eat. And if they want to leave, they have to stay there for Border Patrol to take them out. And the ruling was on the advocate's side. The judge clearly saying that, these migrants are in custody and particularly children are entitled to a certain standard of care that they haven't been receiving.
You talked to Pedro Rios. Can you tell us about that conversation?
Yeah, of course. I talked with Pedro Rios. He's a local activist who has been at the camps for over a year now, and he told me just how particularly dire the situations are for children over there.
We've seen kids that arrive who are ill, sick, some who are injured because they've fallen from the border wall and that you need immediate attention. And so these are not the conditions under which children should be held.
So, Gustavo, what happens now? What kind of impact will this ruling have on the ground?
It's a little too early to tell, right? It just kind of came down, so we have to wait and see how it works out in practice. In some ways, it's a little too late, just because the conditions at the camps have changed, right? In the last year, we did see hundreds of people staying there 2-3 days, even a week more in the camps. More recently, really this year, to the Border Patrol's credit, we've seen that processing times are a lot faster, so people are spending less than 12 hours there. Actually, just this morning, Pedro Rios told me that a family was removed within 15 minutes. Now, he doesn't know if that's because of the ruling or just circumstance, so we'll kind of wait and see. But at the very least, the ruling does establish that they're in custody. It does provide some protections, and advocates can use this ruling as a way to keep the Border Patrol accountable. And I mean, we're talking about it now, right? It raises awareness about the conditions of the migrants in the southern border right now.
And of course, we're going to be following this story. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Maya.
I'm Ariella Scalise, and coming up tonight on KPBS News, we're tracking our next storm here that's bringing rounds of showers, winter weather, and windy conditions. Good news is we dry out just in time for the weekend, but temperatures do stay a bit cool. I'll have a closer look at the detailed forecast. That's coming up.
The vacant seat on the Chula Vista City Council is expected to be filled tonight. The District 4 seat was left vacant after former Councilwoman Andrea Cardenas resigned in February. She pleaded guilty to grand theft in connection to misusing COVID relief funds. And today, city leaders interviewed all 8 candidates and are set to vote on which will fill the seat. After one is selected, they will be sworn in. It's a process some in the community are skeptical of.
10 minutes to get to know the candidate, the person that they're going to vote to represent us for the next 8 months. Doesn't seem like much time.
The community deserves to select their representative. This other route that they're opting to go with, who's going to pick them? 4 or 5 people that don't even live in that district?
And whoever is selected tonight will become the interim council member. They will serve the remainder of Cardenas' term until the end of the year. This does not include candidates on the November ballot, which will decide who will fill the District 4 seat starting next year. This weekend, spring blooms on stage with the passion of dozens of young performers. Transcendence is a nationally recognized San Diego youth arts project. KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us it's a safe space for students to use their talent to rise above difficult circumstances.
There's a beat in this dance studio that never really stops in the hearts of the young people who come here to learn and feel the emotions they often tangle with.
You don't need a microphone. Your body already tells the audience what's more important.
9-year-old Liam Kelly is a 4th grader with a passion for basketball, a skill that he's used to get more comfortable moving his body differently, preparing to dance on stage with an audience watching.
I've just been doing some pointers, and I've just been doing like hoops, dunks, and all that.
Students from elementary to high school spend their evenings rehearsing at the Transcendence Studio off El Cajon Boulevard. They mostly come from mid-city neighborhoods that include Logan Heights, Southeast San Diego, Lemon Grove, and Spring Valley, often underserved communities with economic and social challenges for the children growing up there.
It's like releasing all that pressure, like opening a soda can kind of. And
Skylar Rice is an 8th grade student who's been dancing since she was 3, ballet to hip hop and contemporary too.
It makes me feel like empowered and like in control, like with everything at school and stuff. It's just like a space where I could be like myself.
Transcendence has been motivating students in San Diego since 2005, when 2 adults and a dozen teenagers decided it was time to give underserved children tools to cultivate their talent and support their mental health and well-being. Kat Corral is one of the co-founders and current artistic executive director.
We really liked the word transcend, to rise above difficult circumstances, playing off of that transcend dance, because dance was the core art form in which brought us together.
These young dancers are often fueled by anxiety, depression, isolation, and stress. Transcendence also has a staff of therapists offering mental health services and other wraparound support.
I will say this year more than ever.
Viviana Alcazar is one of the teaching artists preparing 70 students for this weekend's Let Them Bloom production at the Hoover High School Performing Arts Center.
Just seeing them grow from something that they've never done before maybe, and then that confidence that they see and then they feel on stage, and then that gets reciprocated with trust.
And then you can do trust fall back everyone around.
They learn to trust others and themselves through the art of dance and often find their voice through poetry. Kat Corral says the mission continues to bloom.
Transcendence is about community at its essence. It's about the connections we make here.
It's also about the journey, says 13-year-old Citlali Niablas.
It's like you're trying to get through a rough time in your life, but at the end, it's all gonna be okay. So you just kind of embrace the journey.
And the beat goes on. MG Perez, KPBS News.
The Let Them Bloom production will be performed this Friday and Saturday evening in the Hoover High School Theater, and that starts at 7:30.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, our exclusive conversation with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on efforts to increase security cooperation in Asia. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Millions of Americans are expected to travel to see the total solar eclipse on April 8th. Towns along the route of totality are expecting big crowds. While the tourism boost is good for local economies, the extra people may cause chaos on the roads and in the skies. Here's Jen Sullivan with some safety tips.
It's a rare event, a total solar eclipse, and millions of Americans are expected to travel to see the awe-inspiring sight on April 8th. But that means more drivers on the roads and more passengers at airports.
You really need to plan ahead and be safe.
Communities from Mexico up to Canada are in the path of totality, meaning the moon will completely cover the sun, creating total darkness during daylight. Some areas like Western New York are expecting 1 million visitors. Elizabeth Carey with AAA has several tips for drivers, like navigating the old-fashioned way with a map, especially if you're traveling in less populated areas.
In a very rural area, you're talking about wilderness with no cell service.
AAA also recommends drivers don't try and watch the eclipse while driving. Have your headlights on. Don't wear your eclipse glasses while driving, and watch out for animals.
It could trigger wildlife to be out and about.
And if you're flying, the FAA is warning travelers to expect long lines and possible delays at airports. Monday's eclipse falls during the busy spring break travel season. The FAA says they're expecting more than 46,000 flights the day after the eclipse. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
And if you don't catch this one, the next total solar eclipse is visible in the U.S. won't be until August 23rd, 2044. A state program aimed at helping people buy their first home is back by popular demand. Applications for the California Dream for All loan program are now open. Borrowers would get up to $150,000 for a down payment on a home. To qualify, all applicants must have at least a 660 credit score and make under $185,000. Applicants would have to pay the loan back, as well as a portion of the equity.
For those who are excited about just a chance to get some help, I say go for it. Just apply. There's no cost and there's no downside to applying, and you could win.
The program is statewide with a total of $250 million up for grabs. Just under 300 people in San Diego will be selected through a lottery-based system. The deadline to apply is April 29th on the California HFA website. A recent UN analysis found the amount of electronic waste generated globally is growing 5 times faster than can be recycled. This can lead to a host of environmental and health concerns. Michael Yoshida digs into the issue and offers some helpful tips on how you can safely dispose of your gadgets.
From e-cigarettes to broken appliances and old cell phones, global electronic waste, or e-waste, has reached record highs. Some 68.3 million tons in 2022 alone, according to a recent United Nations report.
That's equivalent to the weight of over 100,000 of the world's largest passenger aircrafts. If you put them together, that's enough to form an unbroken queue from New York to Athens, 5,000 miles.
As the world becomes more reliant on electronics, the recycling of gadgets and appliances is not keeping pace, something experts are hoping will change with more awareness.
Better managing e-waste means better health. Health for the planet, but also health for ourselves, because a lot of the components in e-waste can be very toxic to humans.
Along with environmental and health reasons to recycle, there's a big money incentive too. E-waste often contains rare earth metals.
If we had been able to reuse and collect all what is in e-waste, we could have generated over $91 billion in value just in 2022.
So how can you safely recycle your e-waste or give it a second life? Experts say if the gadget is old but still working, see if a friend or a family member wants it. Another option, see if you can trade it in for a new device or credit. And if you do choose to get rid of your item, make sure it goes to a certified recycler. I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
A teacher from the Sweetwater Union High School District has just been named to the National Teachers Hall of Fame. KPBS education reporter MG Perez takes us to the classroom where he makes music and inspires students every day.
Taking time to tune up is important for these students here at Southwest Middle School, less than a few miles from the Mexican border. There's a hum in the room as they make music that is markedly mariachi. Their teacher is Keith Ballard, who has spent the last 25 years creating cultural music programs that have spread to other campuses in the Sweetwater Union High School District and beyond, bringing him national recognition for supporting students from marginalized communities looking to break a cycle of poverty and succeed academically.
If you just give them a little bit of love, and you work hard and you show them some compassion, you can do some great things.
And he has.
His dedication, innovation, and adventurous spirit make him a true asset to the teaching profession. Keith, on behalf of the National Teachers Hall of Fame, I welcome you as a 2024 inductee.
Thank you very much.
Ballard is one of only 5 teachers nationwide named to the National Hall of Fame this year. Mr. Ballard will be doing some traveling before the end of the school year, first to Washington, D.C. to visit with officials from the Department of Education, and then on to Emporia, Kansas, known as Teacher Town. That's because it's the home of the National Teachers Hall of Fame, which will host the induction ceremony in June. Emporia State University also houses the National Memorial to Fallen Educators, a permanent tribute to teachers who lost their lives in the line of duty.
I feel privileged, I feel honored, but I feel more honored, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, to be a teacher here at Southwest Middle School.
His students are honored to have his trust.
Is a really straightforward teacher. He's honest. He's honest.
And now he's on his way to the Hall of Fame for making music matter. MG Perez, KPBS News.
And let's follow our weather headlines as we're still tracking some lingering precip areas of rain showers and snow and windy weather too as we wrap up our week. Good news is for any outdoor travel plans as we head into the weekend, sunshine returns, but it will be cooler. And then next week should be mainly dry, maybe a quick little system that increases clouds and brings a little precip by Monday. But look at this. We still have our winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories. Those continue through our Friday night as we're still watching snow moving on through. Here's going to be totals when all is said and done. A few inches from Wrightwood, but Big Bear Lake down to Mount Laguna could close in on close to a foot of snow. Looking at our forecast through tonight here, as you can see the miserable weather moving on through Oceanside, San Diego, Chula Vista over to Mount Laguna. Borrego Springs, you do look to stay dry for tonight, but you get the wet weather tomorrow. Snow for Mount Laguna, thunderstorms, San Diego and Oceanside. So heads up if you did plan to be outdoors for tomorrow. And not good beach weather, not good surf. We've got high surf advisories here, so at times some dangerous conditions along the beaches starting Friday morning, continuing into midday on Saturday. And not that you're really going to want to be out there, right, with the storms pushing on through, continuing to watch periods of the wet and wintry weather moving through into our Friday, but then sunshine returns by the weekend. Taking a look at those cooler conditions as we head into Saturday and Sunday along the coast, but we'll be back to the 70s by next Tuesday. We'll see showery weather inland on Friday. Clouds stick around Saturday, but more sunshine and cooler for Sunday. Back to the 70s by Tuesday. The mountains, it's going to be cold on our Friday, and the snow continues. 28 degrees for a high. And then as we head into the next couple of days, we'll see temperatures beginning to climb back to the 40s on Sunday. Quick cool down Monday before 44 with sunshine on Tuesday. And wrapping things up into the desert where the wind really picks up with some showers on our Friday. And then we'll see a steady climb back to the 80s by Tuesday. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
So what happens when you add Caitlin Clark to the Final Four? Well, it turns out it's a money-making formula. Women's college basketball ticket prices are now more than twice the cost of the men's. Logitech says women's tickets have averaged more than $2,300 the past couple of days, and that compared to about $1,000 for men's tickets. And it's all being driven by the AP Player of the Year.
Number one reason why women's college basketball has gotten so popular, it's Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is doing something that we have never seen before in the women's game, and she is shooting the ball from very far away.
Over 12 million people tuned in Monday to see Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes win over Angela Reese's LSU Tigers, making it the most watched college basketball game ever on ESPN platforms. Iowa will now face off against UConn tomorrow night. Clowning, acrobatics, tightrope, and many more circus acts are coming to the public parks across San Diego. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says a social circus looks to tell stories through free performances that reach across generations and cultures.
The circus is back in action. Fern Circus, that is. The arts organization is kicking off its annual neighborhood tour with 10 public bilingual performances at community parks and rec centers around San Diego. Catalina Paz, or Abuelita, is the show's creator and director.
We're going to have juggling, unicycle, break dancing. We're going to have a steer wheel. We're going to have contortion.
The shows include young students from Fern Circus's free after-school program in City Heights and elementary school residency programs in Imperial Beach. Fifth grader Isabella Estrada has been in the program for 3 years.
I do acrobatics, flexibility, and some juggling.
She's one of the stars of the show.
It's fun because you get to express who you are and be yourself and motivate people to actually get out of the bubble and be themselves.
From Mid-City to San Isidro, the events will showcase professional circus artists and musicians from around the world. The neighborhood tour also offers free community health fairs and pre-show mariachi concerts. Fern Street Circus General Manager Marcela Mercado stumbled upon the circus 8 years ago.
It was really magical when I saw the kids laughing and enjoying themselves, and I was like, I want my kids to feel the same way, so we decided to join.
After more than 30 years in San Diego, this year's show, called Home, has an extra special meaning. The organization recently moved into its first ever dedicated indoor space at the former Central Elementary School building in City Heights.
This is the first time that the circus has an actual physical space that we can call home. So that's why we're so excited to be part of this building and have an indoor space.
While the events can explore more serious subjects, Paz says the main goal is to laugh and have some stress-free fun.
All good. We forget about playtime, right? And playtime is for everybody, for kids, for adults, for senior citizens like me, even for your pets.
The circus performances take place at 2 p.m. each Saturday and Sunday, now through May 5th, rain or shine, thanks to their new home. For those looking to clown around, more information is available at fernstreetcircus.com.
Don't try it at home. If you try it at home,
Jacob Air, KPBS News.
That's funny. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.